always loved trains. I'm never happier than when I'm tinkering away with my own train set up here in the attic. Signals, stations, sidings, old carriages, new carriages. It is the greatest fun. I'm Peter Snow, and this has been my passion ever since my dad bought me my first toy train when I was just 4 years old. I enjoy mixing different carriages from different eras, making my own unique train. Which got me thinking, what if I could do this for real? Well, me and my partner in crime, engineering whiz kid Henry Cole, we thought we'd get onto a mad idea. In order to delve into the history of the railways, we're going to restore 4 iconic carriages.
Getting together a band of brilliant restoration experts from all around the country. Each group will bring back to life a carriage from a different era, from an 1860s four-wheeler to a 1960s Pullman dining car. We'll even restore a royal carriage and a Teak monster, designed by the man who made the Flying Scotsman.
I'll keep across each restoration. This is terrifying.
And I'll explore what it was like for the passengers who travelled in them.
It's so luxurious, you know, it is fit for a queen, isn't it?
We've challenged all our restorers to complete their work in 6 months, when we'll put the carriages together to create a real-life time train, representing 100 years of railway history. Isn't that a really beautiful sight? And the icing on the cake? I'm going to fulfill a childhood dream. I'm going to learn how to drive a steam locomotive. Can we go much, much faster?
No, just a little bit.
Oh, wonderful. So I can take our unique train on her first incredible journey. This is the Emsay and Bolton Abbey Steam Railway, a heritage line in Yorkshire. Its 5 miles of track were once part of the mighty Midland Railway, whose empire snaked north to the Scottish border and south to London and St Pancras. Today it lives on as a preserved railway, allowing tourists to sample the grandeur of the steam age. And I'm here because we're going to celebrate one of the most influential figures in early railway history. Not George Stephenson, not even Isambard Kingdom Brunel, but Her Majesty Queen Victoria. Yes, this week's coach is a royal coach. Queen Victoria first hopped on a train in 1842, at the very dawn of the railway age. It was the ultimate marketing coup, the royal seal of approval for this newfangled way of travelling. It sparked a transport revolution, which would not only change the face of Britain, but of the monarchy too. Incredibly, despite her importance to railway history, only 2 of the 8 coaches Queen Victoria used in her lifetime survive. One in the National Railway Museum, and this one. Our time train challenge this time around was built by the London and South Western Railway in 1887 and was used to shuttle Her Majesty between Windsor and the South Coast. Almost 120 years later, little of its grandeur remains. To restore this piece of royal history will take a pretty special team. And here they are, the Middleton family. The owner of the carriage and chief restorer is Stephen Middleton, who'll be helped by his wife Ying and daughter Honey.
Might have to move the slings that way a bit, yeah?
Stephen is a veteran of dozens of restorations, but this will be his toughest.
I've been given 6 months to do this job. It would take me normally 18 months, 2 years. So it's doable.
Come towards a bit then.
Yeah, bear in mind you've got the metal bead here. Is that on there as well?
Yes.
I'm putting in 6 or 7 days a week, fairly long hours. I can do it. I can do it in 6 months.
Ying, originally from Beijing, will provide an extra pair of hands for the hard work and a dedicated eye for the interior decor.
Before I met Stephen, I'm not interested in this kind of job at all. But now I'm developing this into a kind of hobby or passion now.
Now she's in the workshop, I'm finally going to get to see the scale of this challenge.
Oh, goodness me. Stephen, and hello, Ying. How do you do? I mean, this is a wreck.
It is at the moment, but it's not going to stay that way for long. Do you want to come on board?
Well, all right, yes, I will. Yes, if I can clamber up here. Thank you, Ying. I suspect they made it a bit easier for Queen Victoria to climb on board than that. Anyway, wonderful, extraordinary. This is pretty scruffy, isn't it? Where are we standing now?
This was the main saloon, the drawing room, the sitting room, if you like. There would have been a settee there, button-backed, blue maybe, and 3 or 4 armchairs.
We don't know in which one the Queen used to sit.
Whatever one she chose, I would imagine.
Perhaps she moved around a bit. Yeah. Now, the whole of this side is missing. What are you going to do about that?
Well, this was knocked out to form a house in 1930. Unfortunately, all that's been long gone. Yeah. But we have enough evidence to show where the wood was. It's an identical copy to that side, so we have to reconstruct that window, pop it over there.
Well, even this side's going to have to be cleaned up, isn't it?
I know, lots of spiders.
Now, what's this cubicle in the corner here?
I've heard it referred to as the throne room. Shall we have a look?
The throne room? The loo, I take it you mean?
Yes.
And you think the Queen actually came in here to relieve herself?
There was nowhere else on the train.
A hole in the floor?
Yep. I think there would have been a lavatory on top of that.
Right, which you're going to recreate, of course.
I think we will find the toilets from a special auction house or eBay. Or...
Good gracious. What is this? This is the second part of the coach.
It is. It's the same size saloon, but I honestly don't know what it was used for. Maybe a day bed and maybe a desk.
At almost 50 feet long, our coach is divided into 2 main compartments. The Royal Salon itself and a second salon, which may have been used for accompanying dignitaries. The aim is to restore her to her royal livery, both inside and out, creating the only Victorian royal coach outside a museum.
Now, what is it, Stephen, that drives you to try and restore a thing like this coach?
Well, I remember how important the Pullman car stewards made me, a little boy, feel in the 1960s. And it wasn't the engine at the front that really got me going. It was the pleasant experience of riding in a good quality carriage. So many trains nowadays, they're just like buses or tourist class aircraft. They're awful. So I want to recreate the experience of luxury rail travel for everybody. And I reckon this coach should do it.
Now, you might think we want to restore this coach simply because of its royal connections, but there's more to it than that.
Royal coaches were cutting edge. They represented the latest thinking in not just in luxury, but in railway technology too. So this coach is a vital moment in the development of railway history.
And one of its key innovations was what it ran on. Henry's been investigating.
In 1887, while Queen Victoria was travelling in total luxury, us lot in the cheap seats were sitting on really hard wooden benches with very few comforts. But one innovation of the era was going to make everyone's journey more comfortable, royal or otherwise. And this is them, bogies. Before bogies, most carriages had their wheels attached directly to the underframe, which gave that hard and bumpy ride. Our coach was one of the earliest to have 4 sets of wheels attached to a separate frame by individual springs. That frame is then attached to the carriage by a single pivot and yet more springs. Not only does that make for a smoother ride, but it allowed coaches to get much longer as the bogies could pivot around bends in the track. The advantages were so great that soon they were fitted not just to royal coaches, but to those for commoners too. By the late 19th century, when our carriage was built, bogies were giving passengers a smoother, faster ride, allowing trains to reach in excess of 70 miles an hour. It's unlikely our coach will ever carry a royal passenger again, let alone rattle along at 75 miles an hour, but it will be used by the public, so these bogies, especially the bearings where they join to the coach, have to be checked. Stephen has brought in a specialist team of engineers, led by Wendy Anderson.
Come on, to me. Touch.
Whoa, stop. Yeah.
It's a bit of a nerve-wracking time when he's being lifted. The disaster is if he slips off his jacks.
We're clear at this end as well.
It looks like the lift's gone well. Should you have a quick glance at the centre castings underneath?
Oh,
I'm in today.
it's not too bad. We're going to have to do something with these bolts here on this one, and that's not impressed with them. And there's not a big chunk missing out of it like we have found before.
Yeah. And that's the
expensive bit.
And that could have been the showstopper.
Yeah. And we'll clean all that out, degrease it, and then re-grease it back and ready for the bogies back under.
Getting a green light for the bogies means we can finally concentrate on the real focus of the restoration, restoring the magnificent body of one of only 2 Victorian royal coaches to survive. Two weeks in, and Stephen is giving this project all he's got.
I'm looking at probably 13, 14 hours a day. And this has been my 15th day non-stop.
Stephen is 100% committed to this project. I feel I'm like a woman without a husband for a couple of months.
So far, I've had massage, acupuncture, and a heck of a lot of painkillers. Just turned 60 and I'm feeling my age in the bottom back and the knees.
But now, after all those painful hours, the first big milestone has been reached.
For the past 2 weeks, we've been stripping stuff off, and you can't see much progress, despite the fact that we're working all hours. But now it's moving on, it's being restored.
It has been claimed that of all her royal carriages, this was Queen Victoria's favourite. The one she used to travel from the bustle of Windsor to her holiday home on the Isle of Wight. Making sure this restoration lives up to the quality and style that Victoria would have expected is a truly epic challenge. We're just over a month into our restoration of one of only 2 surviving coaches used by Queen Victoria. It's far more than just a piece of royal history, but part of the revolution that changed Great Britain. Victoria was crowned in the age of the horse, where a journey from London to Windsor would have taken a day, and few monarchs ever saw their kingdoms. But she became the people's queen, travelling the length and breadth of her realm on the railways, cementing her kingdom by letting her citizens see her in a way that had never been possible before. That's why this royal coach is so important, but bringing him back to life is no easy task.
Most carriages, you've only got one roof. This one, we've got 1, 2, 3, so it's a bit of work.
Now the coach has been fully stripped out, Stephen's opened the throttle, and brought in a specialist team to help reclad the entire carriage.
What we're doing is we're putting flesh back on the bones. Now, with all the junk off it, the frame exposed, we can start doing any minor repairs and then putting the panels on.
Two months in, and I've come back to check on progress.
So, Stephen, you've got a lot of work to do still, but it's coming on.
We have got all the work, but you can see it's coming together quite well.
So that's a new framework there. This old framework's reusable, is it?
It is. It's all teak, and it's as solid as the day it was made.
No, huge relief to you to see that going in.
Oh, it is. I mean, you can see the windows are taking shape there, and it looks like a full, healthy coach again.
You've done the roof.
Yep.
And you're now doing the outside frames. The inside is still just a mess, frankly. But how long will it take to do the outside?
We'll have the outside finished 3 months, and then 3 months on the inside.
Right. And that's going to get you there, is it?
It will. It'll get us there.
You seem so confident, Stephen.
I've done worse.
And Queen Victoria will be turning in her grave unless you do it properly, mate.
I understand that, I understand, but I'm not losing any sleep over it.
When Stephen takes me round the other side, I start to see why he's so confident.
Well, my goodness me. Oh, yes. Terrific. You're making great progress here. What a lovely side of the coach this is.
It's all been repanelled. We've got the beads fitted, which cover the gaps between the panels. That keeps all the water out, that does. And when it's painted, they'll be highlighted with lining. I think it might be gold and black.
I have to pinch myself when I think that Queen Victoria travelled on this coach. It's wonderful.
It is. It's fantastic.
Now, what about the painting? You've got quite a long way with that, too.
We've got primer, 2 coats of undercoat, and I put this on yesterday, which is the first coat of the bottom colour.
But this is beautiful. Beautiful. Well done.
Inside, Stephen's discovered evidence of an innovative piece of technology that's been hidden in the coach roof for over 100 years.
What on earth is that?
We're now stripping the canvas off the roof. All of a sudden, there was a heck of a crash. Came running down to find this lying on the floor.
Marvellously ornamental-looking thing. What is it?
It's the remains of a gas lamp.
No, a gas lamp.
Must have been fitted in 1887.
Well,
it's not in bad state, is it?
Very ornate and beautiful, isn't it?
At the time our coach was built, most others were still being lit with dim oil lamps. But passengers were demanding something better, due to something very close to my own heart. They wanted to while away the long hours reading a good book.
Much of that was due to a chap you may have heard of.
His name was William Henry Smith, or as we know him today, W.H. Smith.
His stroke of genius was realizing that the new railways were full of educated people, trapped in small compartments for hours on end. The perfect market for these things, books.
He opened his first Smith's kiosk on Euston Station in 1848. And by the 1860s, reading on the railways had become so popular that there was a W.H. Smith on almost every major station. But without proper lighting, there was a limit to the market for books.
As soon as the sun went down, the old oil lamps in early trains were useless for reading. So W.H. came up with a solution. His stalls were soon full of little things like this. Now, this is a replica of one of his crab railway reading lamps. All it is really is just a candle in a tin.
Things began to change when the Metropolitan Railway opened what would become the London Underground back in 1863. It was the first to make use of a revolutionary new technology that was lighting up the Victorian world.
In Roman times, if you were going to light your house, you would use this, oil and a wick. 2,000 years on, the Victorians were using the very same technology, oil
and wick.
But then it was found that if you heated up coal in a sealed container, it would give off a flammable gas. Don't try this at home, kids. It may not look like it, but this was one of the biggest discoveries of the modern age. So have I created coal gas?
Wow, look, gas! Now this gas is full of sulphur, tar and loads of other nasties. That's why it's so smoky.
But in a proper gasworks, all those would be scrubbed out to leave coal gas
That was made up of methane and hydrogen.
and it was this coal gas which lit Queen Victoria's carriage. A great leap forward in lighting it may have been, but it was a step back for safety.
Perhaps one of the worst disasters that ever happened on the railways was due in part to gas lighting. On the 22nd of May 1915, 3 trains collided just north of the Scottish borders. And on one of the trains, there were 500 soldiers.
The gas tanks on the troop train exploded, engulfing all 3 trains in flames.
In all, 228 people were killed. There are no official records, but it's said that officers had to shoot some of their men who were trapped in the burning wreckage.
Unsurprisingly, gas lighting wouldn't meet modern safety standards, so Stephen has decided to replace the lamps with safe electric Victorian replicas.
With summer wearing on, the coach is still far from ready. So, I volunteered to help speed things up a bit.
Right, now then. Steve, I'm all kitted up. Let's go for it. We're going to paint this side.
Yep. We'll get some top paint on, some top coat.
Right. Let's have a look at the colour. Whoa! Pink. Salmon pink.
Pink, that's right.
Lovely. Now, how do we know that's the right colour?
Well, when we took the old wood off from up there, we could see several paint samples. Also, it's a pretty well-known fact that the London South Western Railway had a rather challenging colour of salmon pink and dark purple-brown lower panels.
Lovely combination. It's going to be lovely. Do I just snap it on now?
Oh, I'd rather you didn't slap it on.
Oh, come on, show me how to do it.
Right. Just dip a quarter inch, half inch or so in. It doesn't look too bad, does it?
Oh, it looks beautiful. Nobody's going to mix this up with any other carriage, that's for sure. I'm ready to have a go now, by the way.
OK, do along here.
Yes, like that.
Then
Something tells me Stephen's struggling to let go of that brush.
OK. Half an inch in, and off we go. Yes?
beautiful.
So how many coats will it take, Steve?
I think we'll probably do 3 or 4 coats.
3 or 4 coats?
And maybe a coat of varnish on top once we've got the lettering and lining done.
Wonderful. Look at that there. Wasn't I a brilliant painter? How's that?
Beautiful.
Can I sign it?
All this hard work is reaping its rewards. This carriage is starting to reveal its regal potential. But when Stephen and Ying are given a privileged peek inside the only other restored coach used by Queen Victoria, the scale of the task they're facing of the interior starts to hit home.
I'm very nervous now.
Will they be able to match up to Queen Victoria's standards?
There's no way we could reproduce this.
Three months ago, we started work on this wreck, a royal coach used by Queen Victoria. One of only 2 to survive, it was built in 1887 and had been lying in a car park for decades. But now, with a little bit of help from yours truly,
Look at that. Wasn't I a brilliant painter?
and the incredible efforts of her owners, the Middleton family, she's coming back to life. The outside is beginning to look the part, but inside, very little has changed. With no plans and very little photographic evidence, restorers Stephen and Ying have turned to the only other Victorian royal coach for inspiration. on display at the National Railway Museum. This one dates from 1869 and would have taken Her Majesty on long trips north to Balmoral.
That's beautiful. Look at the details. I like the color combination. It's mainly gold, blue.
That's a much better transfer. I wonder if we can copy that.
Yeah, I can take a picture of that. I like the colors and the finishing. To go inside, have a close look. Wow! Oh my dear!
Well, this is giving us something to live up to, isn't it?
Oh gosh.
It's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning.
This is like a palace. Oh God, this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
That's
Look at the details. Oh, I bet they're all gold. Oh, I'm very nervous now. Wow. Darling, I think we should have more mirrors in our carriages. The mirrors make the coach bigger and it looks brighter.
Yep.
What do you think?
That's not a bad idea. We've
Yeah.
got plenty of room for them.
Stephen and Ying have come to meet the curators at the museum, Helen de Sarum and Anthony Cools. Is Stephen having his first case of nerves?
One thing that's really worried me, it's very, very opulent. Ours clearly isn't. Is this a particularly opulent coach? Were others like ours simpler?
There were 5 different royal trains, but only this one was produced to this standard, and that's because the Queen herself took a personal interest in it.
So this is essentially a palace, as you can see, the amount of detail that's in there. You've got ivory, you've got bird's eye maple, and of course you saw the ceilings that are all padded. So she really did pack in quite a lot of interesting details in there.
You're looking at a vehicle that you're going to need to use for special occasions, possibly day-to-day service, so therefore there's got to be a compromise in the materials and the degree of detail that you go to.
We want our coach to fulfill a role that yours can't do.
Exactly. We've got lots of everyday carriages in the collection and in heritage railways around the world, but there are only 2 institutions have Queen Victoria's carriage. One of those is us, and the other is you. You will have the genuine article. It won't be a replica. It won't be made out of cardboard or plywood. It will be the real thing. And I think that is the testament to what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, seeing the carriage proved very useful. It was a bit scary in a way, wasn't it?
Oh, I couldn't sleep tonight. We do get some good tips, like the mirror. I think that's, maybe we can think about that. And the fabrics, maybe the curtain can be a gold color, and the city will be kind of blue.
But not silk, please.
No, no, I think it's not practical because our carriages will be used for a different purpose. Here it's just display, but ours will be used for public.
If we can finish her in time, our royal coach will be unique. The only coach used by Queen Victoria still running on the railways. Stephen plans to use her for special events so the public can get a taste of regal travel. But before that, she'll join our other 3 great projects. The little 4-wheeler from the Isle of Wight, the great Pullman from Birmingham, and the Teak monster from Llangollen as part of our time train.
Over 100 years of history pulled behind a steam locomotive driven by me.
And this is the loco that I'll be driving. A mighty British Railways Standard 4, built in 1953. But like all learner drivers, I've started out on something rather smaller, a little austerity loco, built a year later. So far, I've been polishing, oiling, firing.
Here she goes.
I've even learned how to fry an egg. But today is the big one, driving. The guard's blown his whistle and I'm ready to go. Under the instruction of my teacher, Malcolm Hodges.
Now, Malcolm, this is the most exciting moment of my lessons. I'm going to start the train moving forward. Reverser, can I push it forward?
Yes, please.
Correct, right, OK. There she goes. Wow.
So we now want the steam brake on, so pull that all the way back towards you. Blow the whistle.
Oh, right.
Thought you'd enjoy that. OK, so steam brake off.
Steam brake off. Roger.
Now, as you push that over in that direction, you've got to listen out for the sound of the steam going through. It will be audible, so don't
Will
worry.
the engine move?
It will.
It's terribly
Keep
exciting.
going.
This is really madly exciting.
Keep going. There it is. Can you hear the sound?
Oh, yes. We're moving.
You look outside. You can
Yes.
see we're moving.
Oh, my goodness me. All the excitement of my life up to now paid into insignificance.
Good. So just a little bit more.
Yeah, let's go fast.
Just a little bit
Let me
more.
go much faster.
No, just a little bit. Not yet, anyway. Okay.
Oh, wonderful. And she's chuffing away there.
I've only got a brake van behind me, but if I'd been pulling our royal train, I'd have been in my best bib and tucker. Not only would my loco be decked with royal crests, but even the coal in the tender would have been painted white. Best of all, I'd have got an extra half a week's pay for my role as royal driver. But for today, I'm happy to do it for nothing.
So what you now want to do is to look outside of the cab.
Yep.
And you look very professional as a driver,
Yes.
watching ahead as you're moving forward.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, you've seen a whistle board ahead of you,
Yes.
so you now need to blow the whistle.
Yep.
That's because there's a public footpath across
Oh,
the
I
track.
see. Well, where's this again?
And you're warning people that you're coming.
Signal down.
That's good.
Terrific. Do I go further, faster?
No, because we're going to stop now.
Oh, I'm going to stop. Right.
We're running out of track, so we want to shut the regulator all the way down and start braking.
Okay.
Just ahead of you, you can see where the buffers are.
Oh, yes.
So that's where
we don't want to hit them.
No. And now apply the brake, and again, listen for the sound of the steam coming through. There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
Well, that's amazing. It's stopping very quick.
Yep. So you're stopping 50 tons of steam engine.
And it's stopped.
Yep. There are two difficulties. Firstly, stopping in the right place.
Yes.
And then stopping nice and smoothly.
True, well, that's too bad.
Because if you were pulling the Pullman coach and they just had the champagne poured
Yes.
or the soup poured,
Yes.
you don't want that to end up in their laps.
Yeah,
So a
yeah,
nice,
yeah.
smooth stop, please.
Absolutely
So-
right. Well, how was that? Was that first
Excellent. First go, excellent.
Have I got the job?
You have.
Thank you.
The next time I get my hands on the controls of a steam locomotive, it'll be thundering up the Llangollen Railway in this beast, with over 100 tons of time train behind me. That's if our royal carriage is finished on time, of course. Now the full family has been drafted in to recreate the interior, including Ying's sister Yan, who thought she was coming to England for a holiday, as well as daughter Honey and her friend Annabelle.
Facing that way. I'm allergic to cleaning toilets, and it just grows.
Do you think there's spiders?
Stop talking about spiders. I don't like toilets.
And it's not just in the workshops that our carriage is coming back to life. Across the country, craftspeople are hard at work to help recreate this beauty.
This is the bottom end of the strap.
These leather straps will be used to raise and lower the windows.
Through one, back through with the other.
They're being made just as they would have been 150 years ago.
Another one here, isn't there? Look.
But with the clock ticking, the pressure's rising.
Darling, what have you done? I've just moved all this out.
Yes, I'm doing.
You moved it back in again.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Move it out. Way out.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it needs to be up. That's it. How about that?
It's now 4 months into the schedule, and I'm back to see if I'm going to get a royal coach to pull.
Wow! This is dazzling.
Hello.
Stephen, Ying, Queen Victoria would be proud of you.
Thank you.
Yes. Wonderful. How are you getting on?
Oh, very well, thank you.
Good, good. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
So where have you got to?
I think we're pretty much on target. The outside is almost finished. We just got the glass and the glazing beads to go in. Another coat of varnish. We've got the door to
More varnish on the outside.
Oh, yes.
It's
we
all I can put my hair in. It's a mirror.
That's what Her Majesty would have expected, I think.
She would have been delighted, wouldn't she? And what about the inside?
Inside's coming on well. We're just awaiting furniture, and we've got a little bit of finishing off.
Can we go inside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is a big moment seeing the inside. Right. Stephen, I think you've got a bit of work to do in here, so.
We've got the ceilings done, which was the hard work. We've ordered the furniture, we've ordered the button back panels. Once they're in, it's just the carpet, basically, and a bit of a clean round, bit of French polish, and a little bit of beading.
All the detail, all the hard work we have done. So the rest of things will be carpets, furniture. So I think we have done the majority of the work already inside.
What's the level of decor you want to create here?
Well, we faced a quandary when we were told we had 6 months to do it in, because I would see this as a 2 to 4 year project. However, we determined from the beginning we must not let the quality down. And we've done this by commissioning more suppliers than we'd normally do. We'd normally do all this work ourselves, but with 6 months, no chance.
Are the suppliers delivering on time?
Touch wood, they're delivering on time. We want it to be the best.
So with all this work you've been doing, how's the family relationship going? Still friends?
Yes.
We haven't consulted solicitors yet.
In all this hard work, Stephen has uncovered a real nugget from the past.
Got something here rather special to show you.
Oh, what's this?
I noticed a little glint there in the corner. And this muck just scraped off. And I thought, that's not brass. Brass would have tarnished. And as you can see, scrape away this muck, it's gold.
You're joking?
It's been dipped in gold. It's been gold-plated.
Gold on a footstep?
Yes, it's for the Queen's footstep.
Gosh, it's extraordinary. Now, is this on all the doors on the coach?
No, just the wide ones, which Her Majesty would have used. On the smaller doors, they're brass.
Extraordinary. What a discovery to make. I wonder if the Queen noticed that she was standing on gold as she walked in.
She's probably used to it.
Looking at this golden step has really hammered home the epic scale of this restoration.
I must say, it really is quite remarkable how much progress Stephen and his family have made on this coach. It's come from being a pile of unloved old timber to something much, much grander. That said, I really do wonder whether the family will have the energy for that final push, particularly the inside of that coach, which worries me a bit. After all, this isn't just any old coach. It has to be fit for a queen. Six months ago, we set out on a crazy project, the restoration of Queen Victoria's private coach.
And what a sorry state she was in back then. To most, she was firewood, but not to our chief restorer, Stephen Middleton. With the help of his wife and daughter, he's turned her into what I hope is a palace on wheels. Now there are just a few finishing touches before we can wheel her out for her first journey in almost 100 years. Chief amongst them is getting signwriter John Furlong to apply the royal cipher, the Queen's personal monogram.
This is the only true royal coach outside of the National Collection. It's the only one that people like myself would ever be allowed to work on. So I feel a bit of pressure to get it right.
With the cipher painted on the outside, inside the furnishings are being fitted, ready for the great unveiling. Finally, as the heavens open, I'm pulling up to the carriage sheds for what I hope will be a right royal sight.
Back in Queen Victoria's day, the engine driver got a bonus of half a week's pay for pulling the royal train. My bonus will be to see the finished coach. Stephen!
Peter.
Dreadful weather.
Good to
Are
see
you all
you,
ready
Peter.
for the
We're
great
ready.
moment?
We're ready.
I can't wait to see it. Should we couple up and go for it?
Let's go for it.
A very exciting moment. That's very exciting. Here we go. Here she comes. Goodness me, Stephen. Oh, You must be thrilled. There's the crest. Yep. And the cipher, Her Majesty's cipher. Colour is so beautiful.
Gleaming, isn't it?
Oh. Even in this terrible weather, she looks an absolute gem, doesn't she?
Ray of sunshine, eh?
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Well done, mate. Well done.
Thank you. And we'll go for a ride?
Yes, let's do that.
Back in the 1880s, when this carriage pulled into the station, there'd be a marching band and a guard of honour, not to mention the Queen. But we've got something better. Ying, Honey and Henry to join us for the culmination of this incredible journey.
Here we go.
Can't wait.
When I first saw this room, it was all cobwebs and spiders. But now, look at it. Victorian pomp at its best. Luxurious curtains and tasseled tiebacks in gold and blue have been chosen to echo the Queen's colour scheme, as seen at the National Railway Museum. And plush button-backed upholstery has been fitted to provide royal standard comfort.
Amazing.
Stephen, this is unbelievable.
That's very kind of you to say so.
It's so luxurious, you know, it is fit for a queen, isn't it?
Yep, I'm proud of it.
The meticulous detail, and what you two have done too, is absolutely astonishing. The curtains, the buttons on this little sofa here, everything about it is absolutely magnificent. And your choice of trinkets on the table too, I love that. What's that funny-looking thing over there?
Oh, Honey spotted this at the local auction. It's a biscuit barrel.
And there's some biscuits inside it.
Yep. Late Victorian, kind of appropriate for this coach.
How lovely. Isn't that wonderful?
6 months ago, the privy was just a hole in the floor. So is it now fit for a queen?
And this is the Royal Loo. Stephen, what a marvellous, marvellous job you made of it.
It's a bit more usable, doesn't it, than the last time? And here's the toilet that
Yes.
Honey and Annabelle spent a day cleaning up.
And the little sink by the window. Very, very pretty. Beautifully done.
And it doesn't end there. There's a whole other stateroom to look at.
Oh, my word.
This is the second salon.
Tell me about the curtains. Did you do the curtains?
Oh, no, but I work closely with a lady. She specializes in curtain making. So we did a lot of research about the fabric, the color. So I'm happy with that.
I have to tell you, as a whole complete carriage, to me anyway, it's the detail that makes it utterly fantastic.
Thank you.
As we pull out of a lonely Emsay station, it's an incredible thought that if Queen Victoria were on board, crowds would have lined the track for miles. But today, it's just us.
It's its first run in 87 years. We're the first passengers in 87 years. We've given everything a thorough overhaul and just keeping my fingers crossed, hoping I don't hear any dodgy noises from underneath.
Henry, it feels like royal in here. It's royal.
I was going to say, I do feel royal being here. You know, just these lavish surroundings.
Ying, what was the most difficult thing of all?
The most difficult job is polishing everything. It's really time-consuming.
Certainly done it. My Jove, it's extraordinary. Absolutely wonderful.
Ying has really paid attention to detail.
Yeah, well, I can see that. And that's the key to a fantastic restoration, isn't it?
Thank you.
Detail. It's stunning. Thousands of people are going to love it and enjoy it. And that's the key thing, isn't it? To bring something like this back for future generations to enjoy.
We want it available to everybody to enjoy, give them memories, and also they'll learn a bit about royal travel in the 19th century.
Now, when you get people on this coach, are you going to make it first class or royal class? Something extra special?
Royal class.
Royal class.
It's got to be royal class.
Got to be royal class, yeah.
Well, here's to an astonishing team. Ying, Stephen, well done.
And the Queen.
Queen Victoria, Your Majesty.
There's no doubt Stephen and Ying have done something quite incredible bringing this coach back to life. Queen Victoria's enthusiasm for the railways really did change our country.
She might not have been a great engineer like Isambard Kingdom Brunel or George and Robert Stephenson, but she was a great inspirational passenger, and that was important.
Important because her use of the railways made them fashionable, speeding up the greatest technological revolution the world had ever seen. And it's that revolution our royal coach is going to celebrate next, for she's off to Llangollen in North Wales to join our 3 other restorations.
Some of the things that could go wrong, things hitting the bodywork off a bridge or off another vehicle or breaking a window.
From across the country, they will at last come together to form our great time train.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
100 years of British railway history, driven by me.
Here's the tunnel coming down. Here we go. I've always loved trains. I'm never happier than when I'm tinkering away with my own train set up here in the attic.
I'm Peter Snow, and this has been my passion ever since I was a child.
I enjoy mixing different carriages from different eras, making my own unique train. Which got me thinking, what if I could do this for real? Well, me and my partner in crime, engineering whiz kid Henry Cole, we thought we'd get onto a mad idea.
What if we could build our very own time train, made up of historical carriages, each from a different era?
Over the last 6 months, we've achieved something quite incredible. Restoration experts from across the country have taken 4 derelict coaches and brought them back to life. From an 1860s four-wheeler,
Which does look absolutely wonderful, doesn't it?
to a 1960s Pullman dining car.
It's just amazing. A wonderful sight.
They've even restored a Teak treasure designed by the man who made the Flying Scotsman.
I saw her 6 months ago. She was a wreck.
Yes, she was.
And an incredibly rare carriage used by Queen Victoria herself.
Even in this terrible weather, she looks an absolute gem.
And now we're ready for the grand finale to our remarkable project. Joining all 4 coaches together in one unique train. And her passengers?
Right, it's the first time open for 90 years then.
The brilliant workers who made it all possible.
The axle's going up with the bogie.
And we'll clean all that out, degrease it.
And there's one final treat.
I'm going to fulfill a childhood dream. 100 years of railway history pulled by a locomotive driven by me.
We're in North Wales, where the Llangollen Heritage Railway will play host to our time train. "10 miles of track through some absolutely spectacular countryside, snaking along the banks of the exuberant River Dee, It's the perfect spot for our celebratory journey.
But if we're to get our celebrations off the ground, we've got to get 3 of our coaches here, by road. It's an easy task, but at least one carriage is already here. The 1912 Gresley design, restored by the Llangollen team in sheds just up the track. But our other 3 carriages have long journeys ahead, starting from Yorkshire, Birmingham, and even the Isle of Wight. They need to be transported along the increasingly narrow and winding roads of North Wales.
Our first move is also our oldest. An 1864 wooden coach restored on the Isle of Wight. She worked on the railway here for over 50 years, but when we found her, she was in a sorry old state.
Oh my goodness, we can't be serious. This thing's a total wreck.
That is until restorers Peter Jardine and Mark Brinton got their hands on her.
How would you describe the state of this coach?
Tired, very tired.
Tired?
It's a challenge because nobody's built a four-wheel carriage underframe in wood for a great many years.
Punishing work paid off. And the finished result?
Oh, goodness me, she does look absolutely wonderful, doesn't she?
She's back to how she looked in her heyday. The 1860s were a golden era, when train travel was new and exciting. Back then, our carriage transported well-to-do holidaymakers to the enticing seaside resorts of the Isle of Wight, all flocking to the island in the footsteps of Queen Victoria herself. And now it's time for our carriage to take a holiday of her own. She'll travel by ferry, crossing the busy Solent for the first time since she arrived on the island in 1864. The man in charge of moving all 3 carriages in just 1 week is Andrew Goodman, a 30-year veteran of the heavy haulage industry.
We're ready to load the coach. They're still working on it at the present. They said they'd be 11th hour and 59th minute, so that's literally the case. We have got a boat to catch this afternoon. We need to be back in the port for about 3 o'clock, and the boat goes at 4, so a slight nervous eye on the clock at the present, just making sure that we don't miss it.
Andrew's special low loader has rail tracks fitted along its length for the carriage to sit on. But to get her on board, a special ramp needs to be built.
Come a little bit more, then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down, and it should go in.
It's a nervous time for Mark and Peter. Nothing more than a steel cable supporting their pride and joy.
Try and push it again, Lee. Go forward a touch, Lee.
One thing is useful, that the lorry can do the job of clearing it so he branches out of the way. The carriage is now complete. Take it back to the mainland for the first time, 153 years, and up to Llangollen for a run. There's a lot of work by a lot of people, and everyone's happy now to see the job complete.
Our carriage has an epic 230-mile journey ahead of her. Peter and Mark will meet her in Llangollen, when they'll be guests of honour on board our time train.
So I'll be up there and we'll get a run in it and see this and also see what people have done with the others.
The narrow lanes of the Isle of Wight aren't used to such large and historic loads. Luckily, it's only 2.5 miles to the ferry terminal. Inch by inch and with no margin for error, our carriage squeezes on board. And as we set sail for the mainland, it does beg the question, is there an easier way?
Well, you may be wondering why we didn't just bring them into Llangollen by rail. Well, sadly, the track runs out right underneath the road bridge. This is all that remains of the link between Llangollen Steam Railway, as it's now called, and the main line at Rhuaben, some 10 miles down the track. It's just about passable on foot, but the last train to come through here was in 1968. Having lost money for years, Llangollen, along with over 2,000 other stations, was earmarked for closure in the now infamous Beeching Report of 1963. Almost from the day that the report was written, rail enthusiasts began campaigns to reopen some as heritage lines, places of living history. And the Llangollen line was one of the first to rise from the dead. The last public train ran in 1968, leaving the station derelict. But in the early 70s, a group of enthusiasts began to lay the track once more. And by 1975, the station reopened. Gradually, year by year, its track was extended, creeping along the Vale of Llangollen, one abandoned station after another. Today, the line is almost 10 miles long. Across the country, there are now over 100 heritage lines, with over 400 stations and more than 500 miles of track. In some ways, our time train, 4 coaches and 100 years of railway history, is a celebration of our unique, world-leading heritage industry.
But for that celebration to happen, we have to get our coaches to Llangollen's restored railway track. Having travelled 3 miles across the busy Solent, our 1864 carriage is now ready to hit the road for her long trip to Wales. Who could have imagined, back in 1864, that one day she'd be whizzing along a 21st century motorway? It's the fastest our little four-wheeler has ever travelled. And soon the 12-metre-long load is navigating the narrow Welsh roads.
OK.
She's the first of our carriages to arrive in Llangollen. It's a relief for Isle of Wight apprentice Callum, who's there to greet her.
Quite nerve-wracking watching it being unloaded. We don't want to see it derail. But yeah, I'm quite glad it's here safe and sound, and excited for the rest of the week, really.
1 down, 2 to go. But with our Pullman a whopping 19 metres long, and the other a priceless piece of royal history, everyone's going to need nerves of steel.
Our plan to run a time train on the Llangollen Railway of 4 classic restored carriages is beginning to come together.
In Birmingham, our next carriage is the Hollywood starlet of our time train. A 1960s Pullman dining car, the ultimate icon of glamour and luxury on the railways. It may be hard to imagine now, but 6 months ago, this beauty was a real eyesore.
The inside looks pretty tatty, but
The outside looks terrible.
Yeah, it's awful, yeah.
This fading star badly needed a facelift. Her paint was peeling, her seats far from luxurious, and the kitchen...
Oh, my goodness me. This is terrifying.
the 60s, anyone who was anyone dined on board our Pullman. Five-star cuisine, attentive stewards, it really was the height of luxury. So at the Tyseley Locomotive Works, restorers Dave, Les, Stuart and Nigel worked around the clock to turn decay into delight.
Gotta tell you, mate, I think you've absolutely nailed it. It is lovely.
It couldn't be nicer. I mean, the wood, this is magnificent. It's a remarkable transformation and will play a vital role in our time train, hosting a celebration lunch for all our restorers. For Andrew and his moving team, not only is this carriage 3 times longer than the last one, but there's also a kitchen with pots and pans, crockery and cutlery. Little wonder Nigel and Stuart are looking on like anxious parents.
Some of the things that could go wrong, things hitting the bodywork off a bridge or off another vehicle, or breaking a window, scratching the paint, that would be the worst thing, because that's hard to put right. But, anything like that would be horrendous at this stage. We've spent a lot of time. It's been 6 months of hard effort. We'll be sad to see it go. I hope they look after it.
Well, look after it they do, because the 100 miles to Llangollen go without a hitch. As she pulls into town, she's a real showstopper. Unfortunately, she's a traffic stopper too. The rear steering mechanism fails, and until it's fixed, our Pullman is going nowhere. Much to the dismay of local motorists.
We identified that there's a short on the electric circuit that controls the steering at the back of the trailer. Unfortunately, at the present, we've lost that. So that's what we're just trying to overcome.
After travelling 100 miles, it's the final 200 yards that are causing the team grief. It's another 5 hours before our Pullman is finally safely delivered to the Llangollen yard.
Heavy haulage is all about problem solving. So yes, there's a relief now that we've overcome the difficulties. It's always very frustrating. Can always do without the problems, without the delays, but it's just part of the job.
We now have half of our special time train coaches safely at Llangollen, with our 1864 wooden coach meeting its 1960 cousin, the Pullman. But between them will be perhaps the grandest carriage of all in our fleet. Queen Victoria's personal coach, one of only 2 of her carriages still in existence. Built by the London South Western Railway in 1887, it carried Her Majesty and her entourage from Windsor down to the south coast for holidays. What stories this coach could tell. Based at the Emsay and Bolton Abbey Steam Railway in North Yorkshire, 6 months ago, this carriage was an absolute disaster.
This is a wreck. It is at the moment, but it's not going to stay that way for long.
Having been rotting under tarpaulins for 20 years, it took a special family team of restorers to save this extraordinary piece of history. Stephen Middleton, his wife Ying and their daughter Honey put everything they had into this one.
I'm looking at probably 13, 14 hours a day. And this has been my 15th day non-stop.
I feel I'm like a woman without a husband for a couple of months.
But the final result was well worth the effort. And the interior finish...
Stephen, this is unbelievable. It's so luxurious, you know, it is fit for a queen, isn't it?
Our royal carriage is now a priceless, irreplaceable artifact. And unsurprisingly, Stephen is there to check Andrew's team load it safely.
This is the most critical bit. It's
on the cable, being towed up to the ramp, but the ramp is a good shallow angle. It's not doing the coach any harm.
It's going to pass a lot of trees, and I'm rather concerned
The painting might suffer with the branches. I'll sleep well once I hear it's landed safely and virtually unscathed at Llangollen.
A 120-mile journey lies ahead. But at the end, a unique meeting of 4 carriages with 4 different stories to tell. Our Pullman stopped traffic, but our royal carriage stops people in their tracks. With only one other surviving carriage used by Queen Victoria anywhere in the world, a glimpse of such grandeur outside the museum really is something very special.
This isn't the first time that a royal train has visited Llangollen. In 1889, Her Majesty came here on one of her very early royal tours, a visit that wouldn't have been possible without the railway. Back then, Queen Victoria travelled the entire line from Rhuaben through to Bala, taking tea at Brintasilio Hall, just outside Llangollen. She was so taken with the area, she chastised her son, the Prince of Wales, for not visiting, writing, "It's very wrong of him not to come here. It's only 5 hours from London. The Prince takes his title from this country, which is so beautiful." It's said that one of the reasons why Her Majesty visited the Vale of Llangollen was because she was told that it was even more beautiful than her beloved Deeside in Scotland. Whatever the truth, her visit put Llangollen firmly on the map as a tourist destination.
Mind you, getting a train here by rail in 1889 was a lot easier than getting one here by road today.
Does anyone own this red car here?
It takes a skillful driver and some very careful manoeuvring. But eventually, our royal coach is delivered, with not a scratch on her.
Well, we've just delivered the last of the coaches to Llangollen, so yeah, we've completed the series of moves that we needed to do this week. There we are, job done.
There's just one more carriage to make our time train complete, and luckily it doesn't have far to travel. Our 1912 carriage, built by the Great Northern Railway, was restored locally at the Llangollen Carriage Works by a uniquely committed team of restorers and owner Peter Lund. Having spent 40 years rotting away, it was in a frightful state when we first saw it. Pretty scruffy, Peter. Got a lot of work to do.
Very scruffy, I'm afraid. It's been neglected for a very long time.
A far cry from 1912, when passenger numbers on Britain's railways were at an all-time high. Her third-class compartments and posh first-class salon meant our coach spent her days packed with everyone from working-class families to the smartest toffs.
The heritage of this carriage is astounding. You know, it's 105 years old. It's taken people to 2 world wars. It's taken people to holidays all over the country.
Amazing. I'm bringing tears to my eyes. This commitment to our heritage inspired the Llangollen team, and their restored carriage leaves a lasting historical legacy. Wow, Peter, this is a transformation. Wonderful. It's the finishing touch to this remarkable project. 4 periods of history brought back to life, to sit side by side in a train through time. It falls to the Llangollen boys, Martin and Richard, to assemble this enchanting fleet of carriages.
Extremely excited. It's going to be
fantastic seeing that all 4 restoration projects all together. I think it's a moment that none of us can miss, really, because it's actually a pinnacle of railway heritage engineering.
But this clash of eras creates some particular engineering challenges, especially when it comes to our oldest carriage from 1864.
Incredibly, when our four-wheeler was built, she had no brakes, rather like almost all other coaches of her era. Instead, a guard's van would be attached with a simple handbrake like this. When the driver blew his whistle, the guard would wind on the brake. Not the best way, you might think, of stopping hundreds of tons of train. It caused multiple accidents, and in 1889, the government insisted that proper fail-safe brakes must be fitted to all passenger coaches. Since then, trains have been protected by a braking system supplied by the locomotive, running on pressure. The brakes lock on the minute this pipe is broken.
Because our 1864 carriage has no brakes, we've got special dispensation to run the brake pipe from the royal coach under the four-wheeler to a brake van behind. But the system needs to be pressure tested to make sure it works.
It'll take up a little time to build up pressure. It's struggling a little bit now. It could mean that we got a leak somewhere. So what we'll have to do is just have a quick run down the train and just see if we can hear anything. If you can't build up vacuum, that means it's failed the test, which means it can't run.
After 6 months of restoration work, and as the boys toil late into the night, it's horrifying to think a leaking pipe could hold up our entire time train. Six months ago, it was hard to believe that this day would ever arrive. But on an autumn morning in Llangollen, my madcap dream is becoming a reality. The loco boys have been up since the break of day, gently bringing the boiler up to pressure. But this beautiful Standard 4 class locomotive plays second fiddle to our main event. Today, we're making restoration history. After an astonishing 6 months, our 4 iconic carriages are coupled up. A living record of how the way we travelled changed across 100 years. From early rail journeys to fine dining luxury, these carriages have carried factory workers, soldiers, heads of state, and even royalty. And now, at last, all these eras have come together. And the gifted teams who made it possible arrived to see the full train for the very first time.
Did you do that? Yeah. How did you do that?
What's that, 10-foot wheelbase?
It's about that, yeah. First class in 1864 when this carriage was built. I think that one was about 3 times what that was.
Yeah. Morning.
Local boys Richard and Martin are going back to 1864, travelling first class with Mark and Peter from the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, very smart. Well, like this. That is well comfy, isn't it? I really like that.
The Middleton family take Tysley's, Dave and Nigel on a regal step back in time to 1887.
Yeah, it's come good, hasn't it?
To travel with Queen Victoria.
Do you know these inside handles? They are all made of ivory.
Ivory, yeah.
I spent ages use toothbrush and toothpaste to clean them.
Yeah.
It was green color, looks horrible.
Yeah, they're really nice details.
To help celebrate this momentous day, the Llangollen Silver Band is here to play us off with a version of See the Conquering Hero Comes. This symbolic song was first played at the opening of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway on the 15th of September 1830. This 35 miles of track was the first line to connect two major towns and provide a scheduled passenger service, a historic moment for British rail travel. Back then it was George Stephenson himself, often nicknamed the father of the railways, at the controls of the locomotive. Today it's a rather lesser-known figure.
For the last few months, I've been learning to drive a steam locomotive. But like all learner drivers, I've been learning on a rather small vehicle. But now I'm about to graduate to something a bit more powerful.
This standard 4-class loco was one of the first to be built by the newly nationalised British Railways over 60 years ago. And at over 40 feet long and weighing in at a whopping 79 tons, it's a real monster.
Terrific. Look at that slave.
I'm still a learner driver, so Fireman Graham and regular driver Paul are on hand with a few words of wisdom.
Paul, what are the snags ahead of us, the possible snags?
The snags mainly are that you're going to get some slippage because the railhead is wet.
Oh.
Which makes it particularly greasy.
I'm going to be careful what I do, and I'm particularly concerned that I'm actually pulling 100 tons behind this locomotive. Now, Paul, if I do something wrong, you'll slam me on the shoulder, right? Or you'll throttle me or something. Just stop me making a mess of it.
There's a choice there, Peter.
As I get to grips with the controls, Henry is tucked away in our Pullman dining car with Chef Ben, setting up a well-deserved celebratory lunch for our restoration teams.
Just got me gloves on, that's all that matters, Ben, isn't it?
You look the part.
But finally, it's time to strike up the band for a rousing send-off. It's the moment we've all been waiting for.
OK, boys, the guard says we can go, Let's go then. Blow the whistle.
Pull the chain.
Oh dear, not a good start.
OK.
Handbrake off.
Handbrake off.
And open the regulator.
Brake off, open the regulator. Here we go.
Not too much, remember. Not the drain pots open.
Not steam out your head, it's just steam.
See the conquering hero comes. Sound the trumpets. Beat the drums. Our time train has left the station.
She's making the right sort of noise, isn't she?
It is a big day. Yeah, I'm a cool customer. But even so, I can feel the hairs in the back of my neck. And yes, she's a little moved as well.
This is really superb, this is. You got the sun coming out, you've got a lovely coach to ride in. What more can you ask for?
And some of the passengers even seem impressed with my driving.
He's just done very well to start on a wet rail in Wales, in autumn, with the leaves on the line.
With over 1,000 horsepower at my fingertips, it's time to really open her up.
She's bobbing along very nicely.
From my train set in the attic to this. 100 years of railway history in a single train. What a way to celebrate the golden age of the railways. Each carriage marks a moment in time, but each also tells the story of the men and women who restored them.
Tell you what, once it gets moving, this is actually quite smooth, isn't it, really?
Would you like to see what this looked like before we started on it?
Oh, yes, please, yeah. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? That is brilliant how you've gone from something which is so much of a patchwork quilt there to what you've got now.
Quite a challenge.
Yeah.
Mark was in charge of the underframe, but everything else fell on the shoulders of Peter Jardine.
I think one of the most distinctive things of these is the blue top lights. Jack of all trades, master of none.
But this is needlework. I mean, is there anything you can't do? You're a metal worker as well?
Actually, I'm a qualified mechanical engineer. That was my job.
Oh, yes, of course.
The attention to details as well. It's the little details.
It's the details which matter on something like this.
Yeah, exactly. All your screw heads are all facing in the same direction.
As they should be.
Yes, as they should be.
It is a really fantastic job, and I hope you're really proud of this one.
We are, thank you.
Each of our carriages had its own set of challenges, and our 1912 teak-clad Grizzly was no exception. Little more than a skip on wheels, the pressures of this transformation were certainly felt by owner Peter Lund.
Now, how would you describe the problems you've had in the last few weeks?
Gargantuan. There's no other description for it. Everything that could go wrong with this coach has gone wrong with it.
But it all came good, and Peter's now able to show off the hard work to one of the Pullman guys, Stuart.
This is how we started.
I have to say, I think you've done a marvellous job. Really do.
One of the worst jobs was doing the roof. It's a canvas roof on top of wood, and we have this, what they call roofing compound, which is the most foul-smelling, evil stuff.
Our roof, of course, being a steel roof, we needle gunned it off, stripped it back to bare. 3 noisy days of needle gunning, and you got a half-decent roof again. So, not quite the problems you had with yours.
These meticulously restored carriages evoke a time when train travel, like society, was riven by class. But even third class looks pretty good to me.
This is one of my favourite compartments, but it's a pretty austere compartment, you know. There's no seat rests, there's no shoulder reading lights, and there's a very small luggage rack.
I think the detailing in here is superb. The few pictures and the original mirrors really add something to the whole atmosphere of the coach.
Yeah,
very impressive.
Every member of our restoration teams has a story to share. But these stories say as much about our team's dedication as they do about the restorations themselves.
The work that's been done on the carriages has been great.
The best part was really when we started putting the timbers back in, and it started to look like a carriage again.
Yeah, you start to get into that construction rather than destruction phase.
Yeah, you go through that stop point and that, don't you? And that when it 1 minute in, that it just looks like a mess, and then all of a sudden it's wow, it comes back to life.
It's good to see the teams getting on, and I'm getting some positive feedback as well.
No, you're doing very nicely, Peter. That's
very glad to hear it.
Nice.
Well, I have been learning.
I'm not only lucky enough to drive this incomparable train, but today I'm able to tick another item from my bucket list.
Stand by for the tunnel, eh?
Bowen Tunnel, the second longest tunnel on a preserved railway.
Here's the tunnel coming down.
Here we go then, Peter.
Here we go.
689 yards of complete darkness. What a thrill.
There's smoke coming in here.
Luckily, our Grizzly carriage was one of the first to be fitted with electric lights.
Now we're in the tunnel, it's great to see that the lights work. Yeah, Llangollen Sparky's done a great job. We can see what we're doing.
Each carriage in our historic lineup defines an era in rail travel. But when it comes to sheer luxury, look no further than our Royal Saloon, Queen Victoria's personal carriage. Its owner, Stephen Middleton, may be an experienced restorer, but in order to turn this carriage around in 6 months, he needed the help of his whole family.
So with all this work you've been doing, how's the family relationship going? Still friends?
Yes.
We haven't consulted solicitors yet. We feel really proud to think 6 months ago this coach body, which is what it was full of spiders' webs. There was most of this side missing. And I think most people thought we were crazy thinking we could do it in 6 months. And quite frankly, the sensible part of my brain thought we were crazy as well.
It's amazing what all the teams have achieved, really. Absolutely fantastic.
It's so emotional. Your dream really come true, and my tears in my eyes.
I'd never seen old coaches like this other than in a museum, and to see them actually on the rails, it marks the dedication of the people that have done the restoration.
It's not just a train, it's not just a carriage, it's history on wheels.
A history brought back to life by the passion and dedication of our restoration teams, making my dream of a time train come true. And what an absolute privilege it's been to drive it.
Coming into the station. Make sure we stop at the station. Great stuff, we've done it.
Yeah.
We've arrived. Phew, that was fantastic. Got all the stops and starts right. We didn't have a collision with anybody and everything went pretty well. I've always dreamt of doing this since I was a kid, and I've actually achieved my life's dream. Anyway, I'm a bit famished now, so I think what I'm going to do is shed this boiler suit, go into the Pullman and get some grub.
100 years of history steaming through the Welsh valleys. Our time train has travelled through the 1860s, the 1880s, and into the early 20th century with our 1912 carriage. For our return journey, our restoration teams are steaming into the 1960s to sample fine dining in our Pullman car, Eagle.
Well, the celebrations continue now with us serving lunch.
We've got carrots.
Yep.
We've got new potatoes.
Yep. Have you got any meat or anything?
Oh, we've got a bit of meat.
OK.
Putting the Pullman's newly restored kitchen through her paces with a lunch from the period is Chef Ben Mason.
There's 6 people in a row.
OK.
So we do 6 plates at a time.
Right. Just feeling a little bit lost here.
Ding, ding, salmon!
Ham and salmon.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Traditionally, it would be my job to serve around 200 first-class passengers. Today, I've just got the 20 VIPs to look after.
Peter.
My dear chap.
You have a choice of salmon or ham.
Salmon, please. Thank you very much. Are you steady on your feet, old chap? I'm very worried
You can
about
have
you.
the ham, mate.
You're getting on, of course, aren't you, now?
I'm just worried about the tunnel.
Come on, the next plate's got to go.
Hey, all right. I'm coming. I'm getting the hang of this. Ooh. Right, Stuart, let's.
Oh, look
Here you
at
go.
what
Now,
you've
look,
done.
salmon is the order of the day.
Oh, that's lovely, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
How is it, Peter? Is it
Well
nice?
done. It's extremely good. Can you tell Ben in the galley or the kitchen or whatever it's called? It's really good.
I'll tell him.
And it's beautifully waited on, if I may say so. The
Yeah,
wait,
you did, boy.
The wait, if there's a job for you in
See, I'm quite enjoying
Sydney
it.
Street.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about travelling on the whole time train? Not just with your carriage, this one, but all of them.
It's a great experience. 4 carriages, spanning 100 years of 4 designs. Everyone's different.
Stuart.
It's a unique experience bringing together this 100 years of history. Yeah, really great team effort.
And of course, this coach is your coach.
She's our coach.
It's your coach.
That's it,
Are
yes.
you proud of it? I mean, it looks
Oh,
right
yes,
to me.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
The name Pullman just sort of evokes all memories of all sorts of exciting meals. And it'll go on, because this coach will provide meals for people up and down the country, yeah?
Yeah.
All down to you guys.
Yes.
Well done, brilliant. And let's have a quick toast, come on. Here's the Pullman. Here's the Pullman. And the time train. Your very good help.
Thank you.
First-class food and first-class company. But what do our other restorers make of our Pullman? What do you think of it? What do you think of Les's work?
Yes, I enjoy the carriage. Yes,
Yeah, I mean, you're an expert too. I mean, have you done a good job, or is it sort of 3 or 4 stars rather than 5? What do you think?
I think it's 5 stars.
5 stars, exactly. It's very, very good. Well done, Les. Perfect. The Pullman is a roaring success. But as we head back through Berwyn Tunnel, it becomes evident that the Tyseley boys have missed one vital component.
Ben! Where are you?
a light bulb.
The lights have gone out. What? So am I then? How long does it last? Oh, we're back in business, mate.
Each carriage in our sensational lineup marks a moment in time. They've borne witness to the day-to-day lives of generations of passengers. The earliest took families on the very first seaside holidays. Our royal coach allowed Queen Victoria to be seen by her subjects as never before. The 1912 Grizzly took soldiers to the First World War. And our Pullman served sharply dressed businessmen doing deals on the move as Beatlemania swept Britain. How times changed in the lifetime of these 4 carriages.
I mean, this coach in particular, it brings back memories of being a child in the 60s when my father travelling on this privilege ticket, the service, the standards of Pullmans, and you look at what they've done here. It looks brand new, it looks mint.
Your coach on the Isle of Wight, superb job.
The Isle of Wight one is very good, but I'd say the Queen Victorian, the Victoria coach. I mean, it's just all the padding on the walls, you know, like all around the outside. You know, it's different, very different to anything else, isn't it?
In bringing together 4 historic carriages, we've also brought together some of the brightest stars in British restoration. Men, women, experienced masters and first-timers.
So is this your first restoration?
Yeah, it's my first restoration. I was taken on to do this job back in May. Yeah, I did have a full head of hair before I started. Slowly been declining ever
I think we've all got a bit grey. Mark had dark hair when he started.
Our time train is a real testament to Britain's inspirational community of heritage railway experts.
For me, I reckon that we've got the best craftsmen and women. When it comes to industrial heritage, you know, restoring stuff, I think we've got the best in the world. What do you reckon?
I think we probably have. But you still need to bring people through who are willing to get their hands dirty. But when you find younger people who are willing to commit to a job, to learning a trade, learning a skill, then I think they need to be nurtured and brought through, and they can see what the final result is.
After pouring everything into their restorations, only one question remains.
Stuart, honestly, would you do it again?
Yep, bring us one in on Monday and we'll start it.
Really? Yep. You see, that's passion, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll definitely do it again. It's been a real challenge, but it's what keeps me going.
And it's this passion that has fueled these restorations from start to finish. It's not just a job or a hobby, it's the desire to create something truly unique. And our time train is just that, a beacon to the world. British restoration at its very best. Not only is my tummy a bit full after that really excellent lunch, but also I must admit my old heart's a bit stirred too. I mean, what our restorers have achieved is something truly extraordinary. Perhaps it's hard to imagine when you're stuck on a packed commuter platform, but our carriages are not just about getting from A to B. They are history on the move, the journey from then to now. I've always loved trains. I'm never happier than when I'm tinkering away with my own train set up here in the attic. Signals, stations, sidings, old carriages, new carriages. It's the greatest fun. I'm Peter Snow, and this has been my passion ever since my dad bought me my first toy train when I was just 4 years old. I enjoy mixing different carriages from different eras, making my own unique train. Which got me thinking, what if I could do this for real? Well, me and my partner in crime, engineering whiz kid Henry Cole, we thought we'd get onto a mad idea. In order to delve into the history of the railways, we're going to restore 4 iconic carriages.
We're getting together a band of brilliant restoration experts from all around the country. Each group will bring back to life a carriage from a different era, from an 1860s four-wheeler to a 1960s Pullman dining car. We'll even restore a royal carriage and a Teak monster designed by the man who made the Flying Scotsman.
I'll keep across each restoration.
This is terrifying.
And I'll explore what it was like for the passengers who travelled in them.
It's so luxurious, you know, it is fit for a queen, isn't it?
We've challenged all our restorers to complete their work in 6 months, when we'll put the carriages together to create a real-life time train, representing 100 years of railway history.
Isn't that a really beautiful sight?
And the icing on the cake? I'm going to fulfill a childhood dream. I'm going to learn how to drive a steam locomotive.
Can we go much, much faster?
No, just a little bit.
Oh, wonderful.
So I can take our unique train on her first incredible journey. This is the beautiful Llangollen Railway in North Wales. Once one of the remotest parts of the British Isles. But in the Victorian heyday, the arrival of the railways plugged it into the industrial world. Trains linked Welsh farmers' fields with the markets of London, and Welsh mines with the ports that would send its slate all around the world.
Lots of people think the golden age of the railways was back in the 1930s, when huge companies pounded up and down the tracks. But for me, the golden age was earlier than that, back in the early 1900s, when almost forgotten companies like Llangollen Railway built glorious lines like this in North Wales.
It was an engineering triumph, its tunnels boring through whole mountain ranges in the quest to link our lands. The year this carriage was built, 1912, was the year passenger traffic had reached a peak. Over 1.5 billion journeys being made for business and holidays.
And what's more, even if you'd only paid for a third-class ticket, you'd be sitting in a compartment more luxurious than anything you've experienced before. The humble coach had changed from little more than a cattle wagon with seats to something more like we'd recognize today. And this week's coach was one of the best.
But its glory days are a distant memory. Built in 1912 by Nigel Gresley, one of the railway's most famous engineers, who would go on to design the Flying Scotsman, this carriage was once one of the most innovative of the era. It's known by the rather technical name brake composite. More about that later. And this is the team taking on the challenge of restoring her. The driving force is Peter Lund, chairman of Llangollen Steam Railway, and owner of the coach itself.
You know, I'm retired. I could spend my life playing golf, but I spend my life down here doing this. But it's an awful big thing to get personally involved with, and it does take over your life.
He'll be backed up by the Llangollen Railways team. 12 engineers, apprentices and volunteers, with over 100 years' experience between them.
Going down.
Martin Perry started as an apprentice of the railway over 10 years ago.
When you're restoring coaches, one of them jobs which is annoying but rewarding all at the same time. Especially when you're on the roof and you turn around and you realise you've got to do all that.
Richard Smith is an experienced joiner, but this is his first train restoration.
I've never done a carriage restoration before. I'm feeling, looking at it is very daunting.
Normally it'd take them 2 years to restore a carriage, but our time train deadline is a daunting 6 months away.
Hello, Peter.
Good morning, Peter. Welcome to Llangollen.
So this is it?
This is it. This is the 1912 Great Northern Brake Composite Carriage.
Where on earth did you find it?
Well, came from the Severn Valley Railway. They said, if you want it, give us £10 and take it away.
10 quid for
Which
this?
we did.
I mean, you know, it doesn't look great, but it just...
No, it certainly doesn't look great.
God, blimey. Right, well, let's go inside and have a look.
Fine.
Very exciting. Wow, it's quite a big area, isn't it?
This was what was originally the first-class compartments.
Oh, yes. What are you going to do with it now?
We're going to have it as an open saloon area. There'll be loose tables and chairs and a very plush carpet.
Loose tables and chairs?
Yes.
So rather plush?
Yes.
Luxury
We've
apartment.
still got to try and maintain the first-class bit.
But pretty scruffy, Peter. Got a lot of work to do.
Very scruffy, I'm afraid. It's been neglected for a very long time. Probably 40, 50 years.
Let's go and have a look back here. Come here.
Right.
Yeah. What's all this?
This is the guard's department.
Oh, I see.
And the first-class lavatory. That's the handbrake, which the guard would operate.
Blimey, you have to spin it round?
Yes, to spin it
Purely,
round.
purely by hand?
Purely by hand.
And that's only where the train is stationary you use that, is it?
Yes, and it only affects this coach.
So how do you stop the train?
To stop the train, with this lever here, the guard can lift that in an emergency and the train will stop. As it destroys the vacuum in the pipe.
Our carriage is called a brake composite because it has both a guard's compartment with brake controls for the whole train and both first and third class compartments. The composite carriage allowed railway companies to provide multi-class accommodation in one carriage and so reduce costs. By this time, second class had been mostly edged out by railway companies who wanted to keep first and third class as distinct as possible, separating the lords and ladies returning from the London season from the factory workers set for the seaside.
So where are we going now?
This is the third class area.
Now, this is a corridor, isn't it, Peter? Is this a new development in 1912?
Relatively new. They were introduced about 1890. This enabled passengers to get to the lavatory and also to get to the buffet car.
This is the kind of thing I can remember travelling in the industry as a kid. I mean, and there were pictures on the walls and mirrors and...
That's right. You can see here where the picture was, and that's Truro Cathedral. The one over there is Harrogate, and in the middle there'd be an oval mirror.
And all that is going to be recreated. To make the carriage accessible, the first-class compartments will be replaced by a wheelchair-friendly first-class saloon with plush carpets and upholstered armchairs in red. But the third-class compartments will be restored as they were, less comfy than first class, but with upholstered purple seating and polished teak panels.
Well, let's go look at the far end then.
Right,
down
let's
the
go.
corridor. Yep.
This is the end where the gangway was.
Oh, my goodness, I remember as a kid. Walking from carriage to carriage, the whole thing shaking around, I was scared stiff. Now, what have we got here? Is this the toilet?
This is the toilet, yes.
This one is the third class, the other one up there is first class, isn't it?
That's right.
Is this much sort of scruffier than the other one?
It's not as well appointed. Let's put it like that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it finished, Peter, but I think I might myself use the first class one when I come to use it. Is that right?
Oh, both be very good, Peter.
The trolley may be the smallest and tightest drum on the coach, but going to the loo on the railways has always been a big problem, both for the passengers and the railway companies themselves, as Henry Cole has been finding out.
Now, in Victorian times, spending a penny was costing the rail companies a pretty penny. Originally, there were no toilets on board the carriages. Everyone was crammed into these compartments with no ability to move around the train.
Even in the late 19th century, toilets were a rarity, meaning special refreshment stops were required every couple of hours.
Can you
imagine 300 people getting off the train to use half a dozen loos within 10 minutes. But where there's a will, there's a way. Now, the Times was filled with classified adverts for very strange things. Like, for instance, Walter's celebrated railway convenience. Now, that, I think, was a balloon that you strapped to your leg so you could relieve yourself discreetly. For the people who didn't want to be discreet, however, you could stand up, open the window and, well, you get the idea. But women had a different solution. They would carry a hat box. But there wasn't a hat in it, oh no. There was something much more flowery. And that was a chamber pot. Today you can thank this chap for the fact that you can pop to the loo at 90 miles an hour. His name was Edmund Helsinger von Weldegg, and he was the saviour of anyone who got caught short on the lines. Because it was him who came up with the corridor coach, this neat little passage that ran alongside the compartments to allow the passengers to go to the loo at the end. This simple idea sped up the entire railway system, as trains no longer had to stop for those so-called refreshments. There is one downside to this new convenience. Even today, some coaches still flush directly onto the track. Ugh.
But before we can restore our toilets, there's a little bit of work to do on what's underneath. Our Grizzly runs on bogies, its 8 wheels attached to frames, which are then attached to the coach body by a single pivot called the central casting. It's been at least half a century since anyone has checked them out.
And there's 20 tons of coach sitting on them. So the first task we have is to jack up the coach on this massive jack here and see what these bogies are looking like.
Carriage fitter Martin Perry is here to show me how to do it.
Is he going to wreck the whole system?
It could do.
Oh my God. Stand by, here we go.
Here we go.
Hold your hats, everybody.
If you keep your foot fresh, we'll go all the way up, yeah. We've got the lads on the outside keeping an eye on the jacks and making sure everything's safe.
And it's all holding together.
Yes.
Okay, let's go and look at it, shall we?
Yep.
Whew, it was hard work. First time I pushed 6 tons along. Anyway, now she's totally exposed here. Everything is easy to look at, and they can check all the nuts and bolts and everything and make sure she's ready for action. Fingers crossed.
While the bogies are being checked, the team get on with stripping out rotten wood and sanding down the panels. But being almost solid teak, the good news is that the main body's doing pretty well for 100 years plus. The bad news is that the huge cast-iron bearings that attach the bogies to the coach are troubling Chief Coach Engineer John Davis.
Unfortunately, when we remove the bogies from the vehicle, the actual casting on the coach is cracked, as you can see from these two here. These castings get damaged when there's a shunting movement going on, and they will need repairing. Could have done without it, yeah, definitely.
With the team unable to move the carriage indoors until the problems on the castings are fixed, it's holding up restoration on the main body of the coach. It's a serious setback so early on in the process. I'm in Llangollen, Wales. By the 1860s, the railways had led to a boom in tourism, opening up previously remote places like Llangollen here to visitors from across the country. Today, Llangollen continues to draw thousands of tourists, no longer as part of the UK rail network, but as a heritage line, manned by an army of engineers and volunteers. And here behind the worksheds,
we're now 1 month into the restoration of our 1912 Gresley brake composite carriage. She's been lifted off her bogies, as you can see, and the team are now very hard at work pulling out the old rotten wood and stripping down the old paint and varnish.
I love to see the passion and dedication these guys put in. This is an ambitious project. There's 3 third-class compartments to restore, plus a first-class saloon, a brake compartment and 2 onboard loos, so the team need to get cracking. But they've been held back by bigger issues, beneath the coach body itself. There are suspicions that the central casting that attaches the bogies to the coach may have microscopic cracks, and the team have called in an expert to test them. Half the weight of the carriage rests on this casting, which means it's a critical component. But cracks can be seen by the simple use of a magnet and a white paint containing iron filings.
What we have here is a little flaw there, that black line, which has been revealed by the magnet. That will be in need of repair because that could potentially create chaos, a catastrophic accident. We've got a crack here, up there, and in through the central bore of the boss.
Though these are hairline cracks, the risks, if they spread, are too great to ignore. To fix the castings, the team will need to send them to specialists in Derbyshire. While they're waiting, they get to work on the wooden body of the coach. To preserve the historic character of the carriage, this team are restoring the old teak panels, meaning imperfections dating from its use during the World Wars will be retained. But some sections are beyond repair, so alternatives have to be found.
Now, Peter, here's a teak panel. It's got a crack in it. What on earth are you going to do with that?
Right, we're going to have to glue them back together.
Where'd you get this from?
This teak panel came from Scotland, where we managed to retrieve some. In England, they used to cut the coaches in half and set fire to them, basically.
Yes.
In Scotland, they sold them to the farmers. We used them as hen houses and sheep houses, and we went round them in the 1990s, retrieving what parts we could.
What would that cost if you were to buy some?
I've been quoted £50 a square foot.
What?
But having said that, it's unobtainable because it's a protected species.
In the 1860s, nearly all the teak used on the railways was from the ancient forests of what was then British Burma. Almost all of those great trees were cut down long ago. Teak is now one of the world's most endangered species of wood. As a result, sustainably produced teak is incredibly expensive. So rescuing vintage teak panels like this is the team's best option.
Right, let's do the gluing then.
Right. What we're going to do next is glue these 2 pieces back together to form one panel using this special expanding glue.
Right.
Which we just lay in across here. Just pop that in there.
Yep.
It's important to get the grain in line, so we'll just juggle it till we're there. Then we have to put the weight on.
Yes.
And after 24 hours, it's dry. And you see where the line of glue is, because it's expanded. And then we varnish it, and it comes up like that.
And nothing will break that joint?
Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but...
OK, well done. Excellent.
It's as strong as it was originally.
Extraordinary. How many panels have you got to make?
We've got about 30 panels to do, but some of them are 19 feet long.
You've got a big job to do, mate.
The outside might look traditional, but the inside of this carriage is beginning to look like something many of us would recognise. By 1912, most carriages had something we take for granted today, a communication cord, for use in an emergency, and this carriage is no exception. Henry's been discovering how and why it was invented.
In the 19th century, passengers began to clamour for a way to communicate with the driver after a grisly murder of a passenger in first class. As a result, the communication cord was born. This was one of the early ones. To call the attention of the guard and driver, passengers must pull down the cord, which will be found outside the carriage, close to the cornice. Well, better open the window then. A short, sharp yank on the cord would ring a bell in the guard's van to alert the guard of any imminent danger. Perhaps not the most practical system. By the time our carriage was built, it had become more sophisticated. The communication cord is attached to this valve. This valve opens, it doesn't ring a bell, it actually applies the brakes to the entire train. Hence, for improper use, there was a huge fine. And the guard will get you. Why? Because it also operates this little flag which tells them which carriage pulled the cord.
Back at the shed, there's good news. The repaired castings have been returned.
What we got here is our centre casting, which has come back from the welders and it's been machined, so it's fit, ready for popping underneath our coach. With having the castings being sent off, we've actually lost time with the coach being outside. It's a big relief to see these back. There we are, done. The coach is all back down on its wheels now, so we'll be able to take it back inside and start on the roof. I think we'll make up time now. Once it's inside the workshop, we'll catch up. Oh, we've got to sound confident, haven't we? Yeah, we'll get it done.
After 2 months of stalled progress, the team are desperate to get the carriage under cover and take a look at the roof. But when Richard gets up there, he finds some bad news.
What I've discovered as I've taken the canvas off the roof, some of the boards here that have lower down on the roof has got saturated with water, and over time it's just completely broken down the timber, and so I can stick my fingers straight into it and it's just all crumbling. So that'll all need to be replaced eventually. It can be fixed. It might have to be cut away. I'm not sure whether we'll have to lift the roof. Hopefully not, because that's an incredibly big job. But hopefully we can cut away the bit that's rotten and just slide it in, slide the new piece in.
The carriage is over 60 feet long, and roughly a fifth of the roof is damaged.
We couldn't have really anticipated that this rail would have been rotten as much as it has. We've got such a tight time scale, we've got to really be careful on how long things take us. Time's very much against us on this project, so.
We're doing this for a limited budget in a finite time, and we're almost halfway through it, and we're not halfway through the restoration. So there's going to be a lot of midnight oil burnt before this coach is finished.
We're midway through this stage of my exciting time train project. Bringing back to life the first of our 4 iconic carriages, including a 4-wheeler from the 1860s, a royal carriage from 1887, and a Pullman dining car from the 1960s. When all the carriages are finished, they'll travel from different corners of the country to be joined together as our time train, 100 years of railway history, driven by me. This first restoration is a Teak beauty, designed in 1912 by Nigel Gresley, one of the greatest railway engineers, who went on to design the most famous steam locomotive in the world, the Flying Scotsman. But this restoration has been beset by problem after problem. Last time we saw the team, they discovered large sections of the roof were rotten. Now the planks have been replaced, the pressure is on to make it watertight.
Today is a big day. We've started canvassing the roof, which is putting down the bedding compound, and then pulling the canvas along the top and to try and straighten out all the creases.
Come on, out you come. This has got to be one of the worst jobs you can do on a roof. So this is like a sealer. If you don't get this right, water will get into the roof, which will ruin all the work.
The roof needs to be done as quickly as possible before the compound dries off. And it is a 2 or 3 man job.
Seems a lot of hard work just to be covered up again, but it all needed to be done. Not the nicest smell in the world.
You'll be dreaming of yellow ochre in your sleep tonight.
Better not go too far that way and then we fell off the roof again. I need a resupply.
I think we're going to need another load of tins, you know. I don't think we're going to have enough. Hey?
You need some more? Yeah. Like emergency, I need it. Took us 8 to do the rail mirror.
I've come to the conclusion that nothing's straightforward on this carriage. You think it's a straightforward job, but very often it isn't.
With the bedding compound running out, the team try to thin down what they have left. Finally, the roof is covered and the last of the canvas is being smoothed out. 2.5 days after they started, the job is done. It's 4 months into our 6-month schedule. I want to see if the coach is going to make it onto the tracks, ready for our time train.
Oh, is she coming on, Peter?
Yes, we've had quite a bit done since you last were here. And the corridor connections are on, the roof's on.
Now, how would you describe the problems you've had in the last few weeks?
Gargantuan. There's no other description for it. Everything that could go wrong with this coach has gone wrong with it. We had the first problems with the bogie castings, which we found were cracked, which we didn't expect. There was far more rotten wood on the roof than we ever anticipated.
Do you ever ask yourself why you bother to do this?
I do every day.
Well, why do you bother?
Well, the heritage of this carriage is astounding. You know, it's 105 years old. It's taken people to 2 world wars. It's taken people to holidays all over the country.
Amazing. You're bringing tears to my eyes.
I am.
Anyway, are you going to finish it, Peter?
We are going to finish it. We undoubtedly have to finish it. We're working
so.
7 days a week. It's going to be 15 hours a day, I should think. But I've got quite a good team, so we're going to crack on with it.
You certainly have a good team.
It will be a magnificent achievement when it's done.
Let's have a look inside. Okay. Oh. Peter, you've got a lot of work to do here.
We have got a lot of work to do here.
This looks terrible.
It does, but it will look better. We've got to finish off the ceilings. The wiring needs to be done down the centre. There's seats to go in here and panelling to go up there. There's the glazing to do. We're not that far away, really. I know it looks a mess.
This is a first-class saloon. It's going to be open with lots of easy chairs.
Lots of easy chairs. Occasional table to put your drinks on.
Oh, it'd be lovely. Now, Peter, please tell me the third class is not as bad as this.
Peter, it's nothing like as bad as this. Why don't you come and have a look? Here we are. This is compartment 3.
Yes.
It's almost done, as you can see. The seats are there.
Almost done sounds to me a slight exaggeration, if I may say so. Look at the roof.
Oh, the ceiling won't take 5 minutes.
What?
Come on. Ceilings are fairly simple to whack up.
I wish you luck, that's all I can say.
Thank you.
One reason the interior is taking so long is because this carriage was fitted with electric lights, which was still a novelty in 1912. And Henry has been exploring why it took so long for the humble light bulb to make it onto the main line.
Back in 1912, the idea of lighting a whole train with electricity was proving slightly problematic. If you were reading a book like this on the railway, it was either by gaslight or this newfangled electric torch. The big problem with using electricity on trains is the fact that you can't just plug them into the mains. You have to generate the electricity on the move. Built in 1895, the London, Tilbury and Southend Railway fitted this system, which cracked the problem. Just like my torch, the lights in the carriage are powered by all these batteries, which in turn run off this, and this is the clever bit. This is a dynamo. Now, the dynamo here is in turn fed by this belt that runs off the wheel of the carriage. Simple, but electricity took a long time to take over. It wasn't until the 1930s that most carriages had electric lighting, meaning our 1912 Gresley carriage was in the vanguard.
It all means the end is in sight, so I better crack on with my own preparations. Once all 4 of our carriages are restored, we'll put them together for one very special journey, creating a unique time train. 100 years of railway history, pulled by a locomotive driven by me. Being a loco driver was a highly prized position in the 19th century. The training took decades. Boys would start at around 14 years old. The first job was just cleaning the locomotives. Reminds me of my days in the army. It was the cleaner's job to get locomotives ready for service each morning, but the firelighters would build and light the fire itself to get her warmed up and in steam.
Little and often is the approach.
Malcolm is my instructor, making sure I do everything in exactly the right way.
So what we're doing now is we're just laying a thin layer of coal in.
Yep.
Then we're going to put some wood in, set light to the wood, and that burning wood will eventually set light to the coal.
Here we go. Right up the front of the firebox. There she goes. Now comes the exciting bit. I light up the cloth covered in paraffin that is going to light the fire inside the firebox. Here we go. There she goes. Yes. Beautiful flame. Here she goes. Yes. Even when warm, a little engine like this can take up to 3 hours or more to get up to full steam. So the cleaners and the fire lighters would have to get up very early in the morning indeed. Now Fireman Nigel is showing me another part of the early morning routine. Nigel, is it hot enough in there?
Yes, should be hot enough.
Here we go, here we go. This is how you got your breakfast in the old days of scheme. Just a couple of eggs on the shovel and Bob's your uncle.
Should take a minute or two, no more than that.
Here it comes, there we are, a couple of nice eggs. Well, 1.5 eggs anyway. After 3 or 4 years, a keen lad would graduate to the role of fireman. That'll be my next lesson. Firemen would work for decades before getting a promotion. Few would make it to the coveted position of engine driver before their mid-30s or even 40s. I've got a lot to learn before I can be the driver of our time train. Back at Llangollen, the team are turning their attention to the finer details. But the to-do list reveals there's still some way to go on the interior. And fitting the furniture is throwing up its own set of challenges.
There we are. Just for when the train goes around the corner.
Yeah, it's, you know, HS2 and all that. You know, what we do.
That's the first seating.
It's been a long journey for the team. But Chief Peter Lund is hopeful they may be turning a corner.
Well, it's going a lot better than I thought it was earlier. Most of the mechanics are done. There's still a lot to do in the compartments. In these projects, it's always the little things at the end that take the time. I don't want to get confident. I think we'll get there, but the number of things that have gone wrong so far with this carriage, some other things could go wrong quite easily. So we'll just take one day at a time. Once you get carpets and tables and chairs and things like that, and a glass of bubbly on the table, everything will be wonderful.
The final day has arrived. 6 months ago, this coach was little more than a skip on wheels. Thanks to the dedication of the team, it's been transformed. Now I'm coming to see it for the final visit before it joins our time train.
Hi, Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Your big moment has come.
The moment has arrived.
Are you all ready?
We are all ready for you.
Is the coach all ready? That's what
Coach
matters.
is ready.
I hope so. It's going to be a very exciting moment. I can't wait.
I'm just going to couple up now, and then we'll draw it out, and you'll be able to see her in all its glory. You were very doubtful last time I saw you.
I was extremely doubtful, quite frankly, and I should be surprised if she's really finished. I'm going to be surprised, am I?
You are going to be surprised, I promise.
All right, OK.
In the past 6 months, this carriage has had its castings repaired, 30 teak panels restored, the roof part replaced and recanvassed, and the interior completely refurnished.
There we go. Oh, that's useful. That's very lucky. Peter, it's a miracle. I saw her 6 months ago. She was a wreck.
Yes, she was.
Beautiful varnish. What a wonderful sight.
Carrying the name of her designer's famous logo, the original teak panels have been polished to reveal the deep beauty of the wood. And in restoring the original panels, this team has kept the long history of the carriage alive.
Interesting, all this wonderful old sort of mottled area here. What's that mean, all these marks here?
Well, these are the original panels, probably from 1912 when the carriage was built. The black marks are where they did temporary repairs during the war and afterwards, subsequently rusted and stained the wood.
Where the teak panels were beyond rescue, the team used wood salvaged from carriages abandoned all across the Scottish Highlands. They used genuine antique wood rather than settling for modern substitutes.
She's a genuine antique then. This is really what she looked like.
Yes.
You're very proud of yourself,
I'm
Peter.
very proud of it.
And the team?
The team are fantastic.
Great work, great work.
Inside, the panelled corridor has been restored to its full glory.
Wow, Peter, this is a transformation. Wonderful.
Authentic details such as the leather straps on the windows have been lovingly crafted. And period lighting has been painstakingly sourced from across the country by Peter Lund.
First class?
This is the first class saloon.
Very nice indeed. And you've got beautiful old lights here.
Yes.
And the wood looks magnificent.
The framing is all teak like the outside, but the panels are light oak.
And rather nice straps here, the beautiful leather straps on the windows.
It's a very primitive way of opening windows in 1912. You open that, and down that comes.
Well, I can remember that.
And that's it.
Mind you, I wasn't born in 1912, but beautiful. It looks so authentic.
1912.
It looks so genuine. Into the compartment. Oh, my goodness me, Peter, it takes me back to my childhood. All I need now is a Beano comic and a Mars bar or something, and all the pictures and the mirrors. Lovely.
Paintings have been meticulously sourced to match the original pictures and set in Victorian frames.
This is the architecture compartment. There we've got Runcorn Bridge and the bridge at Conway, Ribblehead Viaduct and St Pancras Station.
What a lovely lot of pictures. And there's mirrors, too.
Yeah.
And the seats beautifully upholstered, even though it's only third class. Nice luggage racks. It's been transformed since I saw it. Would you say you were proud of all this? You
Oh,
must have.
absolutely. I think it's fantastic. I mean, this is what I wanted to do with it for the 20 years.
Nice. Very nice.
The carriage is taken off to be coupled up to a steam locomotive, and I'm heading to Berwyn Station to meet it and the key members of the team for its first test run.
And here she is. Isn't that a really beautiful sight? She looks absolutely gorgeous in the sunlight.
Peter, how are you?
See ya. Great.
Come aboard, come on.
My dear Henry, what do you think of her?
Mate, she's fantastic.
Isn't she beautiful?
And it's not just me, everyone's
Here
here.
are all the lads. Hello, Martin. Hello, Peter. Hello, Richard. So, Peter, how's she riding, do you think?
She's riding absolutely wonderfully. Rides better than a modern carriage.
Richard, are you happy with your work?
Yes, for the first restoration I've done, it's I'm pretty pleased with how it's
First
gone.
one you've
Yeah,
done?
First
Well, you
restoration.
should be proud of me. What about you, Martin?
Extremely proud of it, yeah. Really, from the ground up, really excited about this one. Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
You know, you're approaching middle age now.
That's very kind of you.
Wouldn't you be rather retired and playing golf than fooling around like this?
Absolutely not. I'd rather be here any day. Look at the scenery behind you.
It's a staggering scene, isn't it? Now, how do we know she's not going to sort of... Oh,
Hang on, wait a second. Tunnel tip. Actually, I love the lighting in the tunnel. Don't you?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Perfect ambience.
Yeah, this is a period situation.
This lighting is pretty much authentic, as it was.
Really?
Yeah.
So, oh, here we go,
Here we go.
again. And there's that marvellous view again. It's a sensational railway, it really is.
Would you do it again?
Yes, yeah, definitely I'll do it again, yeah. It's keeping the history of what British Railways were, and it's something I'm very passionate about. Everybody always says to me how lucky I am to do something that I enjoy doing. And I do count myself very lucky.
Good. And your satisfaction sitting here today in this
Yeah,
carriage?
yeah, of course, a great deal of satisfaction.
Without you young guys coming through,
Exactly, yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
we'd be lost.
Younger people like me and Martin, you know, it's down to us to keep this kind of thing alive.
When you see, like yourselves, how happy you are with the actual finished product, this is what heritage is all about. It's all about getting something, making it as it was, and showing it off so everyone in the future can actually enjoy it.
People have said to Peter that to restore this coach in 6 months is impossible, but you've proved otherwise.
We have proved otherwise, but it's with enormous cost, not just in money and stress. I mean, halfway through, I was thinking, how can I get out of this?
But you have to have those moments in restoration.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
do.
you don't get the satisfaction at the end. And you've created something for future generations to enjoy.
Exactly.
How good does it get?
For me, this gorgeous Gresley coach represents the real railway's last hurrah.
It was built at a time when railway companies thought of carriages not just as vehicles for making money, but as the stuff of dreams. Next time, we're off on holiday, heading to the Isle of Wight to restore this tiny carriage from the 1860s, the very dawn of the railway age.
Oh, my goodness. We can't be serious.
So, her restoration involves some beautiful craftsmanship.
All the shapes and whatever that were in the original, like sort of glass, we copied over.
And you did all these buttons and everything yourself?
That's right, yes.
And her past tells the story of why passengers first flocked to this island's railways.
For seaside holidays and buckets and spades.